Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Fuel for Success. I'm thrilled. Today's episode number 50, and
Yes. Look at that flag.
episode number 50. What a milestone. I know, and I'm an American. I love this country, and so I went patriotic today, and we went, I think, 50 states, and love my Canadian friends, but I am an American. I'm a patriot. So, and Pacey hollers, Joe!
What up, Pacey?
Good to see you this morning. Hey, as you know, today is Tuesday, and today's topic is life coaching and motivation. And if you were with us yesterday, you know that Matt's taken a couple of days off. He's got some personal things he's dealing with, and he needs a rest and needs a vacation, so he's taken a few days off. And we've got some fantastic guests lined up. Yesterday with Dr. Sefcek was amazing, and today to back that up, we've got the one and only Joe Giglietti. He's been on our show before. Brings so much energy and enthusiasm and expertise. The man is, you've got a family, you've got business stuff, you've got ministry things. Tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that's going on in your life, Joe.
Well, I'm super pat. Really, everything I do, I'm very kingdom oriented, as you know. And with
Right.
ministry stuff, I don't necessarily think that you categorize your life so that this is my ministry life, this is my business life, this is my family life. It's all life, and everything we do should be pointing towards the vision that God's given our lives. And so, of course, I've got my family. I got three beautiful children, and my wife is in the room, and she's extremely gorgeous. Just got to let the whole world know that. and but yeah, and then we work together as a family on a mission called the 99, which is a
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit student movement, and it's a new approach to reaching and launching movements across the United States to change the world and to do it in the name of Jesus and in a way that's never been done before. And we love it and it rocks. And then to fund all that stuff, I own a real estate company, an investment company, but also we're looking at not only purchasing larger apartment complexes and doing real estate deals, but we're also kind of venturing into possibly purchasing some businesses this year that we can
Wow.
increase the value by doing marketing and stuff like that. So we're looking at a huge construction business in Chicago, kind of a multi-million-dollar thing, a leveraged buyout it's called, and hopefully I won't have to use any of my own money to get that deal done. We'll see. We're working on it now.
That's very cool. So you're working on big business deals. You've got a big vision for 99 and the things that are going on there, and three kids and a family. I mean, that's a lot. Incidentally, in my local church, our youth pastor Jamie Leal is excited to implement some of the strategies and things that you're doing with 99. So it's having an impact across across the world. So we're excited about that. I'm thrilled. Um, so let me ask you this. And Pacey's asking, how did your 99 go? You had that it was a week before, I think, right? You went and had that event.
Yeah. Well, 99, a lot of people don't know the story, and I want to talk about you all today and say things that help you. But thank you for asking, Pacey. Yeah, things went great. We haven't done a 99 worship event in a long time, simply because with the growth of our movement, we've had a real challenge having buildings big enough and the money to build those buildings big enough to host the students. And so we've literally had starts and stops to the movement while we try and do renovation projects and figure out new strategies to be able to
Mm.
house these students and empower them to go do what they're doing. But yeah, so that was a real scary thing for me, Pacey. Thanks everyone for your prayers. It went great. For the first worship event in over a year, we had over 100 students there. And well, I think about 100, so it could have been a little less, a little more,
Okay.
whatever. But it went good, and it was a success, and we're gearing up for the next one.
Well, that's great to hear. So it sounds like you're actually having growing pains.
Yeah, I have been for about 3 years now.
Yeah, and growing pains are a good thing, and they're very real too in business, in ministry, and even in family.
I
So,
never believed it.
as
I always thought you grow, and oh, what a great problem to have. No, it's still a problem. It's a problem.
that's true. That's reality right there. And I like what you said about that you don't really necessarily categorize or separate work, family, ministry. I'm an engineer. I'm a mathematician. I'm an algorithm guy, right? And I'm not a mathematician. I'm a math guy. Let me put it that way. Um, and I try to compartmentalize everything, right? Everything kind of tries to fit in a box, and I really struggled with that for years. And I finally realized, you know what? It's not possible. There's so much intermixing that I've said, you know what? I've stopped fighting against that and said, you know what? Let's find some synergy and gain energy and momentum from the different areas of life rather than trying to separate them.
Sure.
Um, so, but we were talking about, I mean, all that stuff, you got to balance that out. We were talking before the show, and you said, hey, that's real life, right? And it's exactly where a lot of us are living today. We've got work, we've got family, we've got to balance all that stuff. What do you do, kind of to keep your priorities straight, to manage your time? What are some tips that you can give to us from your experience?
In a recent show, Matt gave the explanation of something he called a vision board, which is
Hmm.
great. I think a lot of times people don't know necessarily where they're going. They're involved in a lot of things, but the overarching kind of big picture vision for what it looks like when it all comes together can get blurry just because life is so hectic and stuff like that. And one of the things I did, I read this book, and they talked about basically looking at yourself in the casket, imagining you see yourself there, and watching people walk up to your casket. And they're people that you know, and just think about what they're going to say. And some of the things that, when I did this kind of exercise, some of the things people said was a little hurtful, like, you
Mm,
know, he was really trying hard, but he never did quite, blah, 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 blah kind of thing. And some of the things that I saw were really exciting. Some of the students whose lives were changed and what they said. And basically, I wrote all those down. And then I turned the negative ones into a positive. So the negative things that they said, I would write down what I would want them to say. And then from there, I got basically all my
mm,
values and who I am, and some of those were in categories, in terms of ministry and stuff like that, like what I do for
sure.
the world, what I did for my family, what my family said about me, what I did in business and business connections and community leaders said about me. I wrote all that down, and then from there, they encourage you to write. I need to look up the book while I'm on the thing. It's called Master Plan. Everybody could have a master plan was the idea. And
Master plan.
so what I did was I wrote down all those values, and I have this value statement about who I am. And then the next thing was 7-year goals. So in order to, for example, meet my goals in business, I wrote down I'm 7 years later, I have X number of dollars in the bank. I have went to this many networking meetings. I went to this, and I've got all these goals written down for each category. For 99, for my family life. So in that way, it's categorized, but it's all pointing towards this vision that I have. And then once I got 7-year goals, I broke those down to 1-year goals and said on June 1st, 2014, I have, and blah, blah, blah. And then that gets broken down to every month. I review those and write down the monthly goals to keep me going forward. Every week, the weekly goals to move it forward. And then every day, my daily tasks that I need to do to keep me moving forward towards that.
Wow, that's a lot of work, right? But B, it yields a lot of results.
If you
Um,
take
let,
a buffer
let,
day, if you take a buffer
yeah,
day and just do it, visualize it. This is in 7 years, I'm going to die. I mean, what a terrible thought, right? It's not comfortable.
yeah,
But then let that happen. See the people. I mean, you'll find people are going to walk up to your casket when you do this exercise, and they're going to be like, they're gonna say, "What a jerk," and you're gonna be like, "Whoa, like I've got issues with other people. I need to fix that. I don't want this. And you're also
yeah.
going to see other things that are there. But if you go through the exercise, it'll literally take you maybe a day. Maybe read the book Master Plan. They walk you through it. But it every day now, I mean, just about. I miss days, but I open up my white binder, and I've got them all in those clear pages, and I read, I am an apostle of God. I do XYZ. I am a
Wow.
great father. I do XYZ. And so then I turn the page and I say, okay, in 7 years, I'm going to have this. In 1 year, I'm going to have this. Now it's down to 3 months. And I've done this for almost a year now, and it's completely changed my life.
Well, let me ask you, and I'm going to link up that book so that our viewers can grab a copy of that and read it because it sounds like I haven't read it yet. I'm going to read it myself. Let me ask you this then, because you talk about like the 7 year goals, breaking them down into 1 year goals, monthly goals, and even weekly. So what's talk to me about the specificity, I guess, and the measurability of those goals and how important that is.
Oh, it's completely measurable. My goals for networking, for example, which have yielded me great results this year, um, for my financial goals, which, by the way, help me with my 99 goals because that feeds
Mm,
99 and it also feeds my family. So that's how, it's all interconnected. I don't see business
right.
some separate lesser thing than ministry. Business is part of who I am. And those people that I'm contacting, I'm serving, I'm gaining influence in their lives to inspire them and see them become everything God's called them to be. So it's not separated. But you do separate it out for categories for goals. I just wanted to mention that, Mike.
That's good.
But yeah, but to answer your question for specificity, my goal for the year was go to 60 networking meetings, right? Well,
Hmm.
I fell off the wagon with that early on. It's something I knew I needed to do, but was totally uncomfortable for me. And so for the first like 4 or 5 months, I only went to one or two total, and I needed five a month to reach my goal. But my goal said on June 1st, 2014, I have been to 60 networking meetings, right? So when January
Yeah.
came around, I ramped it up and I said, whoa, in order to hit my goal, I'm going to need to be at like six or seven. So I'm just going to go to 10. And in January and February, I went to over 10 networking events each. And just from that exercise, I spoke at the largest real estate conference in St. Louis. Spoke with a best-selling author, Robert Allen, one of the top real estate speakers in the country. Just from exercising the specificity of that one small goal and saying, "Oh, I'm behind, and I'm not going to make it if I don't ramp it up now." And so,
Right.
yeah, specificity super important.
What and if the goal's not measurable, then you have no idea if you're going to hit it or not until it passes and you go, "Oh, I didn't hit that goal." We had our leadership meeting at our local church this past weekend, and looking at some of my goals, and this is a mistake I made. Some of my goals for last year really weren't measurable. They were, did I hit it or did I not? And the problem with that is that you don't really know until it's too late whether you're going to hit your goal. And if you break it down with measurability, you can say, hey, you can reevaluate during the process. Otherwise, you end up wasting a year. And where are you? It's like a year's gone by, you didn't hit your goal, and you don't really know why. You're standing there going, what happened?
Mike, there's a reason this is your 50th show and you got 20,000 something people watching. It's because of content like that, like you just said. So good. There's a name for that. There's a book called it's about that thick, but it's called Pay to Think, and it's in the business section. Phenomenal book. He talks about goals just like you did, and he calls them. He says what happens is we have two types of goals. We have lag measures, in other words, things that lag behind, and lead measures. And most people make their goals like just like you said at the end of the year, you know I did or I didn't do this. Well, that's a lag measure. There's nothing you can do. Once the year's over, it's over, and there's nothing to see that. So my financial goals, I need lead measures. And lead measures are the things that I know if I do these things, they will lead to the lag measures,
Mm,
which are I want to have X number of dollars in the bank at the end of the year. So you have to make goals that are not just lag measures, but are lead measures. So, for example, and speaking of, for example, family, I spent a lot of time with my kids over the course of the year. Well, that's a lag measure and really vague, right? But if you
yeah,
say I go on one child date a week and one wife husband date a month or at twice a month, at the end of that month, you may not have done those, but you can kind of catch up over the course of a year if you're measuring them as lead measures. That's a little bit more vague
sure.
than say a financial thing. In a financial goal, let's say your goal is $1 million and you need to make $100,000 a month. Well, in the first 3 months, you're like, I tried to make $100,000, that didn't work. How am I ever going to catch up? No, the lead measures need to be I talked to 500 people this month about my business. I went to 5 networking meetings per month. I wrote one book and gave it away to 100 people per week. Those are lead measures that lead to the lag measures. That's what needs to be measured more.
Sure. That's good, and without measurability, of course. Well, I was just thinking as you're explaining this. The reason we set goals, and we've talked a lot about sort of business goals and financial goals and that sort of thing. But I mean, this applies to whether it's weight loss goals, whether it's health and fitness goals in general, whether it's ministry goals. Maybe you want to read your Bible through in the year.
Yep.
If you just say, "Hey, I want to read my Bible through this year," that's very vague, and you'll get to September and go, wow, I'm really going to have to cram. Or even you'll get to November and go, well, I'm apparently going to have to take the month of December off to read my Bible through. Whereas if you have that set broken down, you can break down those goals. So this applies to every area of life, really. um,
Hey,
let
Mike,
me let me
have you
ask
ever
you.
heard?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to ask you. They've got that whole strategy about meeting goals like lead measures and lag, not just lead and lag, but you've got the carrot and you've got the stick,
Hmm.
right? You know that whole
Right.
thing where you put the stick out, and so some people are motivated by the carrot, and so they'll chase after whatever it is that they want. And some people are motivated by the stick because they just don't want to be punished, right? They don't want to get hit with the stick if they don't meet the goal, kind of thing. And
Right.
there's always that argument, like what really gets you to do the goal? Is it the carrot or is it the stick? And another thing that really helps in terms of motivation for having a clearly defined goal is I use a website. There's lots of them now. One of them is called stick.com, stickk.com. And what that is you have to choose. Now, this talk about commitment. I mean, cutting off all other options. Uh, you have to choose a nonprofit group that you hate, that you are against, that just annoys you to know, like you would never want to give to that. And maybe it's just $5 or something like that, but you set a goal, and if you don't meet that goal, that money is already pulled from your credit card by stick.com and it goes to that group that you do not want to support.
Ouch.
Oh man, talk about putting. I mean, even if it's $5, it's a stick, right? And I've done that, and I've actually failed on a goal with the stick, and man, that hurt. Not only did it hurt, but when my wife found out I gave $5 to that group, ugh. And yes, I hope all of you hate Mission 25, and you put that on there, and you just fail in your goals. Just good on
That's a bit of a self conflict here because hey, we don't want our viewers to fail, and yeah, it gets confusing to me. It's too recursive. But
Now, but if you're a carrot guy, you can make your goals. So if you meet your goals, you get to give even more money to Mission
I
25.
like that.
Yeah,
I like that. That's optimistic. That's generous. That's wonderful. Um, yeah, the optimism, the carrot approach. So yeah, you
that
should set your goals and
that
say,
cracked me up. It's funny to be on the other side of the camera from Matt. I love you, Matt. You're rocking, dude.
that's good. So that was. Let me just put that up there. It was stickk.com. Two
Yep.
K's like
Yeah.
that.
Yes, sir. You nailed it.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out. Accountability is huge, and goals help us to set accountability for ourselves. So we reevaluate. You said you pull out that binder, that white binder, and you look at it. Um, all that's really doing is reinforcing accountability to yourself, right? You're reviewing your goals, saying, did I meet them? Did I not meet them? And if you're motivated, a lot of times we're motivated and we want to do the right thing and so forth, and we just because we don't review and we don't go back and look, so we're not holding ourselves accountable on a granular scale that's small enough to keep us moving in the right direction. So I think that's fantastic. Um,
I found.
with this whole, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. After you, sir.
All you, Joe.
Okay.
I
I
insist.
found. You did. I found that setting goals and measures for your life that are in line with your vision of your identity, just like that stick thing, even though I have failed at times with that, it's enormous pressure to help me do the thing that I really need to do to be who God's called me to be. And I found
Hmm.
in some of the most difficult areas of life, I mean, the things, even failures or recurring sins or things like that in people's lives, that if they can counterbalance that thing against something else that is so important to their very identity of who they are,
Hmm.
that is enough to counterbalance maybe the goal that they could never reach or the thing they could never stop doing, for example. Um, For example,
Go.
I've seen guys who, you know, struggle with all kinds of different things, and they told their wife and they said, "Look, if this ever happens, I will tell you." Right? Something that they
Right.
would be
Right.
completely ashamed to tell their wife. And so
Sure.
by doing that, by because their very identity was I am a man of character, I would never lie to my wife. That was able to outbalance whatever struggles that they were having, so that they knew if I do this, I promised my wife I will do that, and that ended it because it was
Wow.
that goal was at odds with their deepest who I am, and I found that that really helps to reach your goals.
That's
Does that make
powerful.
sense?
It's powerful. Absolutely. Yeah. That's great stuff, Joe. And Pacey's right. Joe, you are great. It's great to have you on the show. Hey, let me get practical and pragmatic real quick with you. Because we talked about, all these different aspects of life, and we all, so many of our viewers and us, we deal with these real things. How do you balance, how do you manage your priorities and your schedule between family and work and ministry? And I know there's, you're not separating them necessarily, but how do you keep the plate spinning? What are some practical things that you do?
Um, well, almost everything I've read says that you should manage things by project. So a lot of times
Okay.
there's all kinds of things going on, but if you have a list, I do. I have a list of projects that I'm working on with deadlines. And so I know, there's dates and deadlines just like everything else with the project. But really, it's that. And when you have a goal sheet that you're looking at every day that says, this is my identity, this is who I want to be, right? And these are the goals I need to make there. So, going on a date with my family is a project. It sounds a little bit distant or something like that, but it's just what I need to have on the page to make sure that I make time for that activity. Um,
Sure.
and of course, you got to prioritize, on a daily basis, like, how do you do those? But I guess the one thing I would say that I think is probably the major thing once you have a list of projects for me is to um, spend the first part of the day not on the urgent things, but on the most important things that are you need to move you toward your goal. A lot of times we do the urgent before the important. A lot of times we do the urgent and important before we do the important but not urgent. How many of you have wanted to write a book and thought that would change your life? But how many people actually write the book, right? It takes focus, priority that says, I'm going to do the important things first today. So for me, I try and take care of all the important stuff before noon, and then I let my noon and after be the whirlwind of life. And the whirlwind of life will take you
Mm,
all sorts of directions. And there are things that need to be done. It's not that they're not important. It's just, like the kids have to get picked up from school, but,
right.
it's not going to move your life forward in any way towards your goals kind of thing. So that's how I do it. Other people have different strategies, but for me, I manage by projects and I do the important stuff first.
That's great. I actually have two follow-ups on that, if you don't mind. And one is so how do you really determine what's important then? Does it all boil back to your vision board, and it filters down from that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I look at where I'm trying to go, when you look at the projects and you say, okay, when you have a clear vision, this is who I am and where I'm going and what I'm trying to accomplish. For example, right now we're raising $6,000 for the 99 to create a studio to make
Hmm.
99 locations launchable in other cities around the country. But we need that $6,000. I have, multiple projects that I'm working on, but with that in mind, one of my priority projects is a project that's going to pay me out $15,000 to $20,000 in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I've got some bigger $1 million projects I'm working on, and Mike, my battery is getting low. But so let me grab that cord real quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, hey, no
Sorry.
problem at all. Hey, we're gonna do your thing, Joe, and we'll get to you in just a second. We're gonna link up the books that he's already mentioned for sure. Matt's asking what his top five books. We're gonna ask him that in just a second. What a yeah, I know, Matt. Um, the We've got a few minutes left too. If you've got questions you want to ask Joe, what a great resource. He's involved in so many things. So make sure you type those in and ask the questions that you
I'm ready.
have. Good.
Yeah, so I
So
have some $1 million projects that I'm working on that are great and really move me forward towards my goals to doing more 99s. But the first step, I ran all around my house to do this.
it's all
But
right.
the first step is that $6,000 we need. So that project's going to have a high priority because it gives me a baby step towards the goal.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. Hey, so my second follow-up question, we're going to get to Matt's just after that. But when you do you just practically do you put on the calendar like you talked about date night with your wife and date with your kids and that sort of thing? Do you put those on a calendar, ahead of time? Do you schedule them out? How does that work in in your life?
I do better when I do, but a lot of times I get chaotic and just so a lot of times the way that it happens, and I don't. This is not the way that I want it to happen. So I'm trying to grow in this area, but a lot of times the way it
Sure.
happens is there's all kinds of busyness and chaos, and a moment will pop up where it's like the other day, my wife was volunteering at the school because she's awesome like that, and turns out they didn't need her that day or whatever, and they sent her home. She was like, "You want to go to breakfast?" I'm like, "Yeah." Now I had lots of other things that I could be doing, lots of projects on the list, but that's one of my priorities, and we didn't have that scheduled or whatever, so we just went, and it was very impromptu,
Yeah.
and that's how we roll. But yeah, so sometimes it isn't. Now, best case scenario, I think people who really manage their time greatly and are leaders in that, at the beginning of the week, every week when they sit down and kind of schedule out their week, they're going to schedule in their rest and rejuvenation time. They're going to schedule that time that they're going to do their dates with their family. They're going to schedule the networking meetings that they're going to that week, and all that stuff's going to get on the calendar and do a little better. And I need to do a little better at that. Honest. Thanks for
Yeah.
making me feel like an idiot, Mike. I really appreciate it. No, I'm just kidding. That's a great question.
We can all do better. Trust me. Hey, Matt asked, and also Carlos asked a similar question. Do you use calendar apps or specific software or anything to manage your schedule?
I've tried doing reminders on my iPhone. And I've conditioned myself to ignore the reminders because so many of them come up sometimes. So it just doesn't work for me. So,
I can
but my
relate.
yeah, my white binder. I mean, printing out the calendar and having that in one of those real nice plastic clear sleeves and having all my goals and all that in one place. For me, a binder with those clear pages that you can stick printed pages into, that works the best for me.
Yeah.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
I'm not cool. What can I say?
I use Google Calendar a lot, but I don't use the notifications so much. I typically write things down, probably less organized than your binder, but that's how I roll. Uh,
Matt said
Matt,
Matt said he needs reminders for his reminders.
yeah, exactly. I put post-it notes up to remind me that I have a reminder in my calendar, and I use the same thing. Matt says I use napkins or Carol's hand. I haven't written anything on Carol's hand in days, just so you know. Um, hey, Matt's asking another question here. How do you stay focused on your long-term goals when you're broke and could do things in the now that would actually hinder your long-term goals? So, in other words, sort of putting your long-term goals ahead of your immediate needs. How do you maintain
um,
that focus?
I think you need to choose a really something you really believe in as a long-term goal. Like for example, for me, buying this business, it's a huge business. It's great. People will say I'm an idiot for trying to buy it, but the assets are there so that I could leverage the complete purchase and have no cash out of pocket. But the business has over $20 million a year in revenue, and it's going to
Mm,
30 million in revenue, right? So I'm looking at a leverage buyout. Now that's a long-term strategy play. It may or may not work out, but I have one of those that I'm working. In the meantime, I've got the bread and butter stuff that I'm working on. So you got one of those that you're just pushing forward on. You're taking the small incremental steps towards it, that long term
yeah,
thing, and doing the best you can, but just keep taking the next step and pushing forward. And when you fail and get knocked back 3 steps, take 4 more steps forward on it. In the meantime, you keep the bread and butter going for the immediate needs. And you just got to roll with the punches. I don't know.
yeah,
Does
for
that answer
sure.
the question?
Yeah, I think so. There's an analogy that we use in software development that talks about building an airplane in flight, and I think that analogy of, we don't really know what it's going to look like and it's already in the air, but we're going to go ahead and build it. I think that applies to ministry and life and business as well as software development.
Cool.
So,
I like that.
and I like,
Go to the plane mid-flight.
yeah,
Bring your parachute.
yeah, we got no parachutes though. Uh, yeah, right. Matt's calling us out for running the show late. I don't think so. I'm going to kick him off the show. You're banned, buddy.
Oh, 20 seconds over. I'm sorry.
Hey, I tell you what, Joe, this has been amazing. I didn't even get to, you're an expert in thinking big, and we started to touch on it. We're going to have you back on again and talk about big thought and big thinking and big vision. Um, but Matt's being a jokester today. You need a reminder to plug in your battery.
On my roll. Yeah. Oh boy.
Matt's overriding me. I've been vetoed. He says, go ahead and talk about big thinking. You've got 2 minutes. Ready, go.
Think big. Stop it. Stop thinking small. Think big. There you go. How's that? No, seriously. One big deal can literally change your life. Not just from a financial thing, but if whatever your goals may be. There's magic. There's a famous quote. There's magic in thinking big. It
Mm,
draws people to you. And I've talked about this on the show before, but when I go to a real estate meeting and I say I'm looking for 100+ unit deals, everybody in the room knows who I am. But
right.
if I went there and said, I'm buying single family houses, I'm looking for houses 50,000 to 100,000, I'm just like everybody else in the room. And so
Wow.
there really is magic in thinking big, with the 99 in our ministry. Our mission is scrap the model, change the world. We're not joking. Like, we really have a plan to change the world. And people say, you're an idiot. But people come along and are like, that is so cool. But if I just
Yeah.
said, our vision is to have a couple students over for Bible study every week. You know, there's lots of churches in this town that are doing that, and
It'd be
that's
hard to
why
get excited about that too. That's the thing.
there's no like it doesn't if it doesn't like grab your soul and like pull it out of your body and throw it up into the air so you got to chase it, like it's probably not worth living for. That's my perspective.
I like it. Joe, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. Incredible content. Thanks for all the stuff that you gave us today. It's been a pleasure having you on our 50th show. What a great thing. I was blessed and encouraged too, Matt. And
We
we
love you, Matt.
look
We're
for.
praying for you. We love you,
Amen.
man.
Hey, make sure you check us out tomorrow. We're going to be talking about spirituality at 11 o'clock Eastern time. You can see all of the archives at fuelforsuccess.tv, and connect with Joe on Facebook and Twitter. We'll put his links up on the show notes, and check out these books he mentioned as well. Joe, have a great day. God bless you, my friend.
You too. Thanks for the invite. Bye.
Bye-bye.